everyone, welcome to Dryer Days Art Studio. I'm Catherine and I'm so happy to have you here. In this video today I'm going to work on these square beachy themed coasters. These were a lot of fun to make and some really fun cool products were used in the making of these. So let's get right into how I did it. First and foremost, I used these square silicone molds, which you can find at dryerdaysartstudio.com. Pretty much everything I use to make these you can find in my online store, dryerdaysartstudio.com, including the perfect lacing mold, which is what I use to make these white cells, which give that foamy look of the beach waves. And so what I did was, whenever I have a little bit of extra resin, I've stated this in other videos, I will fill in other molds that I have laying around, including the perfect lacing mold. So you can see there's two different sizes laying there. There's a larger mold and a smaller, and I am using the larger of the two. When you purchase these from my store, you do get one of each, the large and the small. And so I just stuck these into the square mold and kind of tried to gauge how large I wanted them, the shape that I wanted them to be along the bottom. I knew I was going to incorporate some sand into these coasters, so I'm pretty much just eyeballing it. This is not an exact science at all. But you can see where I kind of cut them in half almost to come down just about 3/4 of the way into that square mold. After sizing each of them and getting them just how I wanted them, I will set them aside next to the mold that I want them to be in. I did get this natural looking sand here off Amazon. I will link that for you in the description below of where I purchased that, and I am going to mix that with a little bit of resin. I am using tumbler epoxy resin for these coasters, and I am going to use Stone Coat's countertop resin to finish these off at the end. So I've already mixed up my resin, and here I'm just going to add some sand to get my desired consistency. I did want this consistency to be a little bit thicker because I want that sand to kind of stay put where I lay it in the molds. I didn't want it to go all over. So the more sand you add to the resin, the thicker it will become, almost like sludge. I opted to lay my sand in first, which I'm doing here. I knew that I was going to have these coasters facing up, so the bottom, if you will, the part that is against the silicone mold, I knew I wasn't going to use that side. I wanted to have a little bit more control. I really wanted to have those white cells on top really popping out, really being vibrant. And so I'm kind of building this coaster on that premise of the side that's facing us right now is going to be the side that is up. So I really didn't mind how this was going to look on the underneath side of the mold, really focusing on achieving the look I want from the front here. So you can see how I kind of sloped the sand a little bit. I didn't want it to be a perfectly straight line. I wanted it to have a more natural look. As I've shown in other videos, I really like to build my coasters up as I go. So to make sure the blue really wasn't overtaking the sand here, I'm going to layer in some more sand. And even if you add some more clear in too, that'll help kind of push that blue back a little bit. I did want the ocean to take up, as I said, about 2/3 of the coaster. So I wasn't overly concerned about the sand, but what you'll notice here too is when I actually go to lay on the white lacing, I am going to need to lay some more additional sand over top of that too to really help it blend. And I'll add a couple other really fun products in there too to help with the blending. went on the hunt throughout my studio to see what I had that I could add to these. I love adding like turquoisey or light pink items to my beach work. I think it's just a really nice hue to kind of have all together. I love the Bahamas, which has really more of that turquoise water and even pink sand beaches. Also had some light pink little tiny shells that I had gotten from a seller on Etsy. I will look her up, and if her store is still active, I will link it in the description below of where I got the pink shells. Alright, so I got the shells where I wanted them, and I let these pieces tack up a little bit, but it's still wet. The resin is just really tacky. It's really not going to move too much anymore, and I am just going to take a popsicle stick here and take some of my bubble bath glitter. This is an extra chunky glitter, but it is translucent, so you just get some really, really nice sparkle and shine in your pieces without it being this giant chunky glitter. I love this glitter because it can look pink, it can look teal. It's just really, really pretty, and it's very subtle. And I thought with already kind of having those pink and turquoisey teal colors in there that this would be the perfect glitter. And I'm really, really happy I used some in here. And just literally drizzling it on there. I knew I was going to do a flood coat on these, so it doesn't have to be perfect, and that flood coat will protect any of the loose pieces. These molds are really nice and durable. They're pretty thick. You can see they just peel out very, very nicely. This was about a day and a half that I let these cure. A little bit of some edges on these that I wanted to smooth down a little bit. Like I said, I knew I was going to do a flood coat, and I don't want to lose too much of that rim because we're going to use that as almost like a dam for the flood coat. So just going to go around very gently. And using my handy dandy alcohol wipes that I love so, so much, getting off any dust that we just sanded and any fingerprints that might have gotten on these. I was pretty good to wear gloves constantly because I knew I was going to do a flood coat, and I didn't want any oils from my hands to get on these. I felt like these needed a little bit of a finishing touch of a gold edge. So I'm going to use this marker. I love these from Michaels. They're probably some of my favorite metallic markers. They just give a really nice opaque finish. And with the tip of these, you can get a really, really nice straight line along the edge, as I'm doing right here. And that just adds a really nice, almost like a highlight, low light. It helps pop out some of those colors. You can see right there, it just makes the sand almost come out so much more than it was without putting that rim on there. I think it just adds a really nice, elegant finishing touch as well. And the coasters just look more complete with this added on there. Okay, and once all of the edges are done, I am going to use a new technique here, and I picked this up from Tish over at Naptime Creations. She's another YouTuber. She's an affiliate of mine. Really awesome lady. She makes some really, really cool creative videos, so I encourage you to go check her out. And I had been using a lot of latex on the back of my coasters when I knew I was going to do a flood coat, to help catch any drips that will get on the bottom of the coasters, because we don't want those. And the latex acted as a really, really nice barrier. And then I saw Tish tried out some glue, and I thought, God, I have all this Elmer's glue laying around. I want to try this out for myself. So I did. It worked really, really well. I am probably most likely going to use this again because it has way less of a smell than the latex does, which is really nice. And I noticed too, sometimes the latex can almost leave like an impression of itself. You kind of have to cover the entire thing with the latex so that it has this same look. And with the glue, you don't have to worry about that. It doesn't give that impression. I did let these sit for a really, really long time, so the glue was really, hard on these. I recommend you come in way sooner than I did. I would probably say as soon as it looks dry, you could pour your resin and you'd be good. But I just waited a really long time, and it kind of like really stuck to the coasters as it is glue, but it came off fine. I needed a little bit of extra elbow grease, and yeah, so I just encourage you, maybe do your resin like right away after you do the glue, and when you go to peel off the glue after your resin is hard with the drips, don't wait too long on that either, because I waited really long on that too. I kind of forgot I had these little guys curing, so just bear that in mind. Little tip that I will definitely be using myself in the future. And as you can see here, I have little silicone mats underneath that I'm going to use to catch any drips so they don't get on my baking sheet. These I've actually included in the October art boxes. And I also have some larger 12 by 16 inch silicone mats coming to the store too that could fit in a tray like this. And again, they just help you catch the drips so then you don't get resin rock hard on your baking sheet. Because then the baking sheet's kind of like useless, because then it's got this bump of resin on it and now it's not flat anymore and blah blah blah. So just taking a small amount, I like to start on my sides. I find it easier to start this way, and just rubbing a thin coat along the sides to help seal and protect that gold metallic that we just put on. Okay, after I have done the sides on all four coasters, I'm going to drop a little bit of resin in the middle of each. And once again, using a gloved hand, we'll move it all around. Make sure you cover the entire thing, get all the way over to the sides. Resin is self-leveling. I will add again, this is Stone Coat's countertop resin. They have the highest heat resistance I have found, and I knew I was really going to be using these with hot coffee mugs and stuff like that. So yeah, just really make sure you get it all around, all to the edges, double check. And yeah, then we can hit it with our heat and let them cure. And then using an orange stick, I am going to just kind of gently ease that up and off. And it did peel right off. It got all of my drips off. Like I said, I probably let it sit a little bit too long with the resin on there, and it would have come off a lot easier if I hadn't let them sit so long. So just bear that in mind. A lot of spots though, it did just peel really easily right off. I knew I was going to put cork on the back of these, so I wasn't too concerned with scuffing it up or anything. But if you are worried about that, I would encourage just be mindful of how long you're letting it sit on here. I have these square little pieces of cork that I got on Amazon. I will again link all that for you guys below. And they have an adhesive back here, so just pull that off, place it nicely. All right, let's try this again. Place right in the middle. These were like a perfect fit. These coasters are about 4 inches by 4 inches, and so are the cork pieces, so it was perfect. And then off camera here, I'm just going to press down. I'll show you here in a second, time-lapsed. I get it really nicely secured on there and then press down gently for about 10 seconds just to really make sure that they have adhered to the back. So there you can see, just putting some pressure on for 10 seconds, going around doing this on all of them, and now they have this completed, finished back on them. And here is one out in the sun. You can really see that bubble bath glitter in there. This was before I put cork on, so you could see the edges there. And with the beautiful deep blue pigment in there for our ocean water. And I just think these are darling. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I'm glad we did that metallic edge on the side. I think it really added something. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Come find me on Instagram at Dryer Days. And until next time, everybody, keep on pouring.